You know, once in a while, a bigot just throws an opportunity right into my lap to rip them apart. And it's happened again, which is great because it hasn't been happening that much. I think they're getting wise that, you know, if they give me the opportunity, I'm going to rip their new asshole. And this one, I guess, really hasn't paid attention to who I am that much, but he decided to send me an email with a link to a video of his that said, you know, watch him prove that gays have equal rights in America. So, yes, I'm very thankful, DavidLynch007. I'm very thankful that you have sent me the opportunity to embarrass you in front of the world. However, I really can't embarrass you totally because you're another one of those users that don't have the balls to show your face on camera. And somebody else, you know, they'll follow the link to his channel just to show that most of his videos, actually all but one, seem to be about the Westboro Baptist Church, and it's clear he supports them. So that makes him an insane whack job right there. But let's go ahead. Now, understand this is going to be a two-part video because his video that I'm responding to is 9 minutes long, and he speaks slower than grass grows. That's probably because of his mental capacity, but it may be that he's just struggling to come up with his argument as he goes along because he knows really he doesn't have a good one. But let's go into it. I'm sorry that his portion of this just takes so long. It hurts your brain just to listen to it, but let's go for it.
I would like to talk about an issue that I feel very strongly about, and that is the so-called civil rights movement for homosexuals and also the so-called equal rights movement for homosexuals. The first thing I want to compare are blacks and homosexuals.
Really?
I choose blacks because they have been persecuted more than any other identifiable group in the past 300 years in American history. They were persecuted not because of something they do, but because of who they are. Being black is not something that you do. It's not a behavior of any type. It's just who you are. And because of that, they were enslaved and stripped of all their rights. Even in recent American history, within the last 100 years, I mean, blacks weren't even allowed to drink out of the same water fountains. That's pretty severe. When your persecution is so narrow, that's pretty narrow persecution when you can't even drink out of the same fountain as us.
When persecution is that narrow, that's narrow persecution. Ooh, this is going to be easy.
That's narrowed in persecution by government especially. That's important. That's an important thing to keep in mind for this discussion. Okay, so now let's look at homosexuals. Homosexuality is a state of mind. Just like me being straight is a state of mind.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's not something you can identify by any physical feature that I have. You can't identify it by the pigment in my skin, for instance. Okay? It's a state of mind that I have. Same thing with homosexuals. Now, I will grant you that you do not have control over your attractions. It's just something that happens to you. I didn't choose this state of mind of being straight. However, I am. Same thing with homosexuals. So I'll give you that. However, let's say, for instance, that I choose to hold a girl's hand.
Okay, let's just start off that you've started your video with a comparison of blacks and homosexuals, and you said that blacks were persecuted for who they were, not what they did, who they were being black. Then you went on to say that homosexuality is a state of mind that's not controlled by the individual. Well, then that would make it who they are. It's a state of mind. It's who they are in their head. It's not an action. You've just admitted that being gay or being straight is who you are because it's in your mind. It's your state of mind. So you've already eliminated your comparison between blacks and homosexuals because you've established that both are who they are, not what they do.
Small like that. That is a voluntary behavior on my behalf. It's not something that someone did to me, especially in the sense of it's not someone who attacked me, okay? It's just something that I chose to do for enjoyment, by the way, for rewarding enjoyment that you would get out of that sort of interaction. So it's the same thing for homosexuals. What you're doing is you're behaving a certain way. You prefer to behave this way. And
yes, they prefer to behave in a certain manner, to interact with people of the same sex and attraction to the people of the same sex. They prefer to do that. That preference is based on who they are. You can't limit it to being, they're just people like you and me that have made a choice. That choice is based on who they are. It's not like I make a choice to pick up a red ball rather than a blue ball. If who I am says you've got to pick up the red ball because the blue ball is something that you don't like, then the action is based on who I am. It's not just an action. It's just not a choice of action or activities. That choice has something behind it, and that's who I am.
So you do, and you do it for enjoyment. Now let's just go ahead and move on to the persecution.
Oh, please do.
I do see that there is persecution against homosexuals, but not by government. The government has not persecuted
Really?
homosexuals
Really?
at all.
Oh, really? I'll tear you up on that one,
And
too.
you're going to say, well, they don't have a right to marry. Well, yeah, they do have the right to marry. However, marriage is between a man and a woman. That's the law for everyone. Okay?
Really? Really, it is? I seem to remember there's 3 states where the law says that marriage is the union of a couple, 2 individuals, not a man and a woman. So you can't say that's the law for everyone. And yes, they do have a right to marry. They have a right to marry somebody of the opposite sex, which is not what they want to do. That's not who they are. They want to marry somebody of the same sex, somebody they're in love with. You tell them they have a right to marry somebody of the opposite sex, you're basically telling them, go marry this person that you're not physically or sexually attracted to, that you're not going to love, and that is not the person you have fallen in love with. You need to go forget the person you fall in love with and marry this person you really have no desire on being with. And somehow you think that's the same as your option to marry a person that you are sexually attracted to and that you are in love with. And you somehow think that's the same.
I can't get married either because I'm single.
What? What?
See, that's something that homosexuals and a lot of people who sympathize with them, they say, well, they don't have the right to marry. Well, they do have the right to marry. They just are not content with their options. It's the same option I have. I'm thankful that I have the option of marrying a woman. Okay, that's something that I would like to do.
Key thing here. You say they have the same right you do. They have the same option of marrying a woman. But then you add that it's something that you're thankful you have that option because it's something you want to do.